Hey everybody, and welcome to Rabbit's Rumblings, podcast 345. This time I don't have any games to talk about, but I did get a cooler for my laptop, which is the Cooler Master Notepad X Slim Ultra Slim Laptop Cooling Pad. Quite the mouthful of a name. And so I have some thoughts about that model in specific, and sort of temperature differences I saw using it. And so some thoughts maybe on pads in general, generalizing from the numbers I got with this one. But that's it for this time. Hopefully you'll enjoy the show. For years, I've been using my laptop on a flat desk and propped it up in the back with a small wooden block, and it's been fine. Most laptops do much better not flat on the desktop, but since I didn't really see a huge need to spend any money before, I just used that little block I found at my old job. However, my new Acer Predator Helios 300 is one of several which have vents along the bottom of the system. Looking at where the fans are, it looked like using my laptop on my lap would actually choke out those intake fans. So I decided to get a cooler and see what kind of difference that would give me. As I mentioned in the start, it has a really long name. It is the Cooler Master Notepad X Slim Ultra Slim Laptop Cooling Pad. I got it on Amazon for $20. Other places kind of charge a little bit more. That was the regular price, as it sometimes could go on sale, as things do on Amazon. Most of the other coolers ranged from $30 to $40, with some even hitting a higher price. I didn't really see a huge difference in terms of where the fans would be placed. There were some with multiple smaller fans. This one has a big single fan. But I decided, since I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money on it, this one would be just fine. This is indeed just fine in terms of size for my 15-inch laptop. There is a little bit of space around the edge. It does say it can fit a 17-inch laptop. I haven't tested it on my old system, but I'm sure that would fit well enough. By default, the cooler has a flat mode. It's about 1 inch thick, so it would be 1 inch thick evenly above the desk that you're using it. It does have little feet on the back you can prop up and make it a little bit higher on the back. I would guess those are about 1 inch high. As I think I mentioned, it has a single large fan which is over most of the surface, and it does require one USB port to power it. However, there is a pass-through on the plug, so you can put something on the back end of it, and it doesn't actually block up a port. Note that it does have a power cord going out of that USB, so you have to be careful where you put the placement. For me, I use it on my left side as I'm facing the laptop, and I have to use the furthest back port for that. So if I would use it on the right side, I would have to use the frontmost port, which wouldn't actually work in my case because that's where the USB-C port is, which I am usually using to charge something. So that is not an option there, but it works just fine on the left side for me. You can obviously use the cooling pad without it plugged into your laptop, and then the fan would not be on. And the USB power attachment does have a little spot in the back on both sides where you can sort of stow it away, and then it's out of the way and not sticking out anywhere. I originally tried to test the system just standing still in The Witcher 3 for about 5 minutes for each cycle, but there really wasn't any difference in temperature that I saw. So I downloaded a free benchmarking utility, since the one I'd previously been using now wants a minimum of $5, which, $5 isn't a lot, but it's more than I have. So I used this other free benchmark, which lightly stressed the system. It didn't seem like it was too intense of a test, but it did give me some definite numbers. Basically, the end result of the numbers is that things are 5% cooler with the laptop on, the cooler on my lap with the fan on, which 5% doesn't sound a whole lot cooler, but if you look at the Celsius difference, that's about 5 Celsius difference, and that is quite a big difference in terms of cooler temperatures. There was a surprisingly small difference between no cooler with the laptop flat on a desk compared to being on a cooler with the fans off. That difference was about 1.5% or 2 Celsius on the CPU and GPU. With the fan on, there was a noticeable jump in reduction for the CPU, lowering it from 80C just after the test to 76C, hitting that big difference of about 5%, with the GPU difference being about half as much, lowering it from 68C to 66C, still a very good reduction. With the fan on, with the system on my lap, which further increases airflow and gives you a nice breeze on your lap as well as your hands if you're using a controller in your lap, the temperatures again reduced about 1% more. So again, the overall difference from the desk with no cooler, just using laptop fans, compared to on the cooler with the fans on my lap, is about 5%, which again is 5 Celsius for the CPU, lowering it to 75C from 80C, and 68C on the GPU to 64C. Just to confirm my hypothesis about it being on my lap without a cooler, choking out the vents, I checked that too, and after the test my CPU had spiked up to 92C, and the GPU was 78C, seeing an increase over no cooler on the desk at a 15% increase for both the CPU and GPU, proving that you do not want to use a ventilated bottom laptop on your lap if you're doing stressful things like gaming. If you don't have a cooler, at least put it flat on the desk and, use a book or something to prop up the back. As a side note, because I see people do this all the time, never ever put a laptop on a soft case, on a desktop, or on your lap. Think about your face when you're trying to sleep. Do you face your face down into a pillow when you're trying to sleep? No, because you can't breathe and your face gets hot. Same thing happens to the laptop and the laptop vents, so you never ever want to put it on a soft surface, especially something like a soft surface on your legs that would completely block out the ventilation. Remember, these numbers are numbers with my particular laptop model with this cooler using one specific benchmark. Now, if your laptop doesn't have a ventilated bottom, it might be okay to use on your lap without a cooler. My old 17-inch system seemed about the same on my laptop or not. However, as I mentioned, I did used to prop up the back with a small block when on the desk, and that did seem to help keep it a little bit cooler. So I would recommend a cooler if you have a newer laptop, especially one of the current generations, as they tend to run a bit hot, and absolutely recommend one if you'll use it on your lap, especially if it has a ventilated bottom like mine does. One side note about the volume of the fan: it's not silent, but it's not horribly loud. I don't have a way to really record accurately, but it's somewhere between watching a video fan noise from the laptop and the gaming levels of the fans in the laptop. So if you're gaming, it's not really noticeable, but if you aren't doing demanding things and the laptop fans spin down and go idle, you will notice the cooler fan running, and that might bother you if you are sensitive to sound when there doesn't need to be sound. It's not really important if you have headphones on, but if you don't, and your laptop is at or near idle temperatures, you might want to unplug the fan so it's not creating extra noise that might bother you, if you don't need the extra cooling. And that's it for my thoughts on a cooling pad. From the newsroom. There's no real new news this time, just a few games to watch out for in the coming days. Godfall is coming out for PC and PlayStation 5 November 12th. Really looking forward to that. It looks really cool. It looks like some fun, fast melee action. I'm a little concerned about how the skill and character upgrades are going to work, because they have not at all shown off any of that, and we're like a month until launch, so that has me a little bit worried that the gear system hasn't been shown off at all. Hopefully they will do that very soon. Cyberpunk 2077 is coming out for PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One on November 19th. Though I do believe I heard that there is a PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series version coming soon after launch, and that they will be offering a free upgrade to the new version if you've already bought the regular version. Outriders is coming out for PC, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One sometime in holiday 2020, so that means it's got to be this year. I would guess it's probably going to be around mid-November as well. I would think they want to come ahead of Thanksgiving because that's when all of the crazy Christmas frenzy shopping starts. Usually, quote-unquote, holiday launches, if they say a year, usually means right around a week before Thanksgiving, so that's my guess. And the one that I'd kind of forgotten about, which actually is coming out first on this list, is Tetris Effect Connected for PC, Xbox One, and the new Xbox Series consoles on November 10th. This is actually already out, sort of, for PlayStation. I think it's just called Tetris Effect instead of Tetris Effect Connected. I think the new Connected version has some new stuff in terms of the game and probably the songs and visual effects. But I think the big thing is a new multiplayer mode where you can play together. I think that's brand new for this version. I like Tetris. It's a cool old school arcade game, and this new version looks really hype and cool looking. I'm looking forward to maybe getting it. I can't get anything until the second stimulus comes, so we'll see. Tetris Effect Connected is a bit cheaper though. It's only $40 instead of the full price games. So that's pretty cool. And if you have Xbox Game Pass for PC or the console, it apparently is going to be on the Game Pass, so you'll have it free through that. And that's it for things to watch out for in the coming days.
Ahoy there, and welcome to the treasure chest. We gather to thank those who surrendered booty to the rabbit. I'm sure we can all agree we love a little booty now and then. Ha ha ha. The following be all the rapscallions that donated their booty.
We do be thanking Frosty for the most excellent food gift card. 3 cheers for food. Hip hip, arr, hip hip, arr, hip hip, arr. So that's it for this week's podcast. I don't really have much going on. I finally finished XCOM Chimera Squad, and so now I'm sort of rewinding and going back to The Witcher 3, which I never finished. I think I sort of rage quit because I took on too many quests and I started getting really confused as to what I was supposed to do. Plus, my old system, being old, was only kind of able to play it, I think around, I would guess, maybe 20 FPS on lower settings. So it really wasn't enjoyable, and in big fights with, half a dozen guys, it got really, really difficult to sort of, block in time and dodge and move around and fight like I should. So I just kind of stopped playing. So I re-downloaded it onto my new laptop, which it runs just fine on, and I decided to just go ahead and start over so that way I wouldn't be lost. And now I'm sort of playing it like the TV show runs, where I'll pick up the quests, but then I'll complete the quest before moving on and doing anything else. Previously, I was kind of treating it like an MMO, I'd just wander around everywhere and grab every quest I could. But now I'm sort of like doing it episodic, like I'll grab maybe 2 or 3 quests in an area when I get to a new city, but then I'll methodically go through them, one at a time and be sure, all those quests I can do are done. But really, that's kind of it. I've been super sick lately. I don't know if you can tell. I might sound a little bit deeper tone or maybe a little scruffier. Got this sort of upper sinus infection that seems to not be going away. Could be allergies. I don't know. It's usually blocking up my sinuses completely so I can't breathe. It's getting a little bit better lately. I have been mostly able to breathe. I was sneezing there quite a lot for a few days, but now I'm kind of not sneezing anymore. But it's sort of still wrecking my throat and my sinuses. It gets all jammed up and a lot of snot gets generated and it's very icky in my throat. But I guess I'm okay-ish. Other than that, everything's still sad and terrible. We're in something like, at the time of recording, day 193 in lockdown, with no end in sight. Probably going to be till the end of the year at least, if not longer. My new laptop is really good in terms of getting public connections, though, so I'm going and doing that outside of the library a few times a week. Still needs power, can only run a few hours without being plugged in, which if I'm going to do that, I don't really want to do it, because then, I have to take it with me, and then there's, a risk of, stuff happening to it, or, it gets dropped and damaged or stolen or whatever. And so it just doesn't seem like that's worth it to me for just a couple of hours of use in the day. I'd rather just keep it in my storage area and then, know it's safe. And then only take it out on the days when I'm going to use it, like, a lot. So I'm still pretty limited in terms of how much I can access things. I guess there was a better than I expected reception for the video version of the last podcast. So at least for the moment, I'll keep doing that. Though, since I don't have any money for any games, I don't know what I'll be able to do in the future. Lots of stuff coming soon in November, but no money for any of it. Hopefully I'll get some gift money and be able to get at least one thing. That would be awesome. There's several items on my Steam wish list. For those who are not regular listeners, I think I did a podcast where I mentioned there's like 30 games on there now. And I went over like the top 10 or something that I'm looking forward to. So yeah, if I had some money, I could, maybe grab a few of those on sale for half off, because a lot of those will commonly go on sale, every few weeks. So I don't know what I'll talk about in 3 weeks when the next podcast would be due. Hopefully I will have something, and hopefully I'll see everybody next time. Okay, thanks, bye. Note that as you're facing the laptop, if you put it on the left side, note as you are facing the laptop, if you put it on your left side, so the laptop's very confusing.
3 cheers for food. Hip hip hooray. Whoop. Hip hip.
You have been listening to Rabbit's Ramblings. If you would like to see the show notes or feed the bunny by sending a donation, you can find the show website at www.rabbit.com/podcast/rabbitsramblings.html. When you type Rabbit's Ramblings, don't use a space. If you would like to send me an email, you can do so at rabbit@rabbit.com. If you like my page, you can also post on Facebook at rabbit.com. You can follow me on YouTube at rabbit.com. I have a page on Patreon at www.patreon.com/rabbit, RABB1T. You can set up a monthly recurring subscription there at a price point of your choice. Be sure to put the number 1 in place of I anytime you type Rabbit. Rabbit's Ramblings is copyright Eric Stryker, using a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Derivatives License, 2020.